I'm live. Oh, did I break it?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's good.
You're live.
Yep.
And then I will.
Yep.
Perfect.
And just scroll back and see if it. Yeah, the delay.
Yeah. I don't care about the analytics.
Yeah, that's delay.
Oh, yep, we're good.
And the only other thing you can do. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is way. That's better.
All right.
Yeah, that should. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
One day. Thank you for the info about the short after that call yesterday.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Right, base, forward, march.
Teresa. Rachel. Michelle.
Here.
Kate.
Here.
Gladys. Lauren here. Bridget.
Here.
Julie.
Here.
Ralph. Al. Louisa. Absent. Okay, have a few recognitions. So I'm so happy that we get to recognize these two. I've known about them since they were in elementary school. Watched them from afar at middle school, and now they are at Danbury High School.
Good evening, everyone.
See if we need to
We're ready
add
start our
another sound
school year.
source.
We have two of our students identified by broadcom masters. Two students were
That's the
identified
camera.
as one of
Yeah,
the
that's
top
this one,
big
isn't it?
competitors.
That would it not be the aux mic?
Okay, I'm not sure if that's that one or that's the internal. Yeah.
The students this evening is Principal Jennifer Blue from Westside Middle School.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and he says audio.
Before I begin, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about why this is such a big deal.
Oops.
So, the 2022 Top 300 Broadcom Masters is from the Society for Science and the Broadcom Foundation. We're proud to announce the top 300 competitors in the 2022 Broadcast Masters. That is across the country. The nation's premier STEM competition for middle school students. The Broadcom Masters seeks to inspire young scientists, engineers, and innovators to solve the grand challenges of the 21st century. The students selected from 1,807 entrants come from 35 states, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the top states include California 27%, Florida 12%, Texas 8%, Pennsylvania 6%, and Utah 5%. Most students, and 2 from Danbury. Most students, 62% go to public school and 28% are in private schools. The remaining students are in home, magnet, or online schools. 30 finalists are chosen from this select pool of 300 to compete for more than $100,000 in awards and prizes. Finalists will be announced on September 21st, and I wish our two students from Danbury the best of luck. So, our first young scholar is Miss Cindy Schwartz. She was the vice president of the National Junior Honor Society when she was at Westside. And besides being a scientist, Sydney currently plays soccer for Danbury High School. She is also a world traveler. During this past summer, Sydney visited Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland to research the impact of sports and wellness. Sydney will travel next year again to Australia to study regeneration and conservation. This young scientist is also very accomplished. So we congratulate Sydney. Our next student is Sandhya Sudar. Oh God, Sandhya, I always mess up your name. Sudarsanam. Yes, I've known her since she was in 6th grade. Not only does she excel in science, she is also a creative and imaginative writer. We first met when she joined our magazine staff, the Westside Warriors, when she was in 6th grade. The Westside, in part due to Sandhya's talent, our magazine has won state awards with the Connecticut Writing Project featuring her work in the Connecticut Student Writers Magazine. So not only is she a scientist, but she is also a very accomplished writer. You can tell she makes me proud. TV one. Yay!
Principal Blue, family, students, thank you so much.
Moving on to public participation. The board welcomes public participation and asks that comments be limited to 3 minutes. The public may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about the Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury public school system. We'll have to do that. Okay.
No, wait.
Yeah.
We haven't gone.
Oh. Sorry.
You can bring your chairs with you and then we'll go back to that.
Do you have a microwave for our public? Microphone for our microwave. All right, sorry for the delay. It's our first meeting of the school year. We're a little rusty at this. So the first person I have signed up is Sandra.
So my son is a child that goes to Ellsworth Avenue. He is a fourth grader. It's a great school. Yesterday I went in and we had to meet the teachers. While I was walking through the hallways, very nice and cool, getting to the hallways of fourth grade, it felt like you were walking into a sauna. I, as a parent, felt nauseous from so much heat being in there. My son is a severe asthmatic. He takes his inhaler every day after school. This has been an issue since summer school because we have kids that live in our street that said that they can see it was already broken in the summer. I'm concerned not only for my child but for the other children. From my understanding, there was a child that went to the school nurse today that was a friend of ours because he couldn't breathe. What is in the process of this getting fixed? From what I know, COVID still exists. There's no ventilations. Our kids are in these classes with other kids that we don't know what they're carrying. Flu is coming. COVID still is on. I just want to know what is the process of this getting fixed in the school. I did call. I left a message with the superintendent this morning. They said that the message was going to get forward to the right direction, and that's why I'm here today to see what you guys are planning to do for this matter, because I am a concerned parent, especially being that my son is a severe asthmatic. There's kids going to the school nurse that can't breathe, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you for coming. make a motion that the Board of Education approve the items on consent calendar exhibits 22-92 and 22-93 as recommended.
Second.
Moved by Lauren, seconded by Kate. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Do we have any staff representatives this evening? Okay, our student representatives. Sorry about that. You can come back to the front. Thank you so much for allowing our public to speak.
Please feel free to bring your chairs with you.
Hi, so my name is Audrey Godard, and this is Danbury High School Board of Governors. I am the president, and I'm really happy to be here tonight.
Hi, my name is Nadia. I am the current vice president of Danvers Education. Again, I'm really excited to speak up. I'm Jennifer Sosa. I'm the treasurer. I'm Julie Patrick. I'm the secretary. I'm Maria Susis, and I'm also vice president of
So all we came here to really tell you guys is updates about the school year. So we just recently opened up around 3 weeks ago, and overall, I think that the opening of our school went out pretty well. We are making a few adjustments this year, so we did add in our credit only or COs back, as well as a non-flex schedule. So COs essentially work as if a student is absent or absent unverified in a class for 5 or more periods, the 6th period that they are absent, they will be subjected to a credit only, which marks them as an automatic 500 highest grade you can get, as well as them still being eligible for the credit. As for the no flex schedule, last year we did have flex, which is basically an advisory period in which students are able to go and visit their teachers, get some help. And a lot of the students ended up not going to flex or misspeaking by walking around the hallways, so Principal Donovan enacted a no flex schedule just as a way to help students realize that flex is important and it is something that you need to go to because it is vital for getting help and succeeding as a student. So also I want to mention that the new gym is being renovated because of the water that ended up being under the floor last year. So we had a pipe burst and that ended up having a bubble in the new gym floor. So they ended up stripping on the floors and are working to fix that this year so that sports like basketball can get ready to play in the season in the winter. And we're hoping to fix that around October or the end of that. Yeah.
Another adjustment that was made this school year was using Schoology. It's been a very hard
Oh,
learning
I'm
curve.
sorry. Would you mind speaking into the microphone? Some of us can hear. Thank you.
So another adjustment that's been made is Schoology, and it's been a really hard learning curve for both the teachers and the students. I know in my class specifically, if your schedule is adjusted, it doesn't really show up on Schoology. There's also been a lot more issues with teachers being able to post assignments, but I think it might be just like process you and again, teachers and students are both adjusting. And concerning the freshmen that came into Danbury High School as it is a new school, we've seen that they've been doing okay so far. The crowds in the hallways are a little large, but I think the freshmen are starting to learn, around the school. So it's been a little congested, but I think throughout the year it'll calm down.
We are also hosting an open night this Monday, the 19th at 6 o'clock at our school, geared towards freshman parents, to kind of help them get an idea of the crazy
stuff surrounding it?
We are also going to be hosting a club fair, which is going to help it bring in more people to join the clubs around school. And we're going to be pairing up with BOG, peer leadership, and the class of 2023. We're also going to have class elections for juniors, which are going to happen on the 6th of October, sophomores the 13th of October, and freshmen the 27th of October. And then the seniors are going to have their senior fest on October 30th, right after school with a barbecue. And we also have Spirit Week being planned, and homecoming, which is going to happen. The homecoming game is going to happen on the 21st. The homecoming dance is going to happen on the 22nd. And we're also going to be starting up a pep rally on the 20th, which is Thursday.
So also, we just kicked off our fall season sports, so that's very exciting. I do know that football is having their first home game this Friday, so tickets are $5 for adults and $2 for students, K through 12, and as well as $5 for I think $2 for seniors. And other sports are going on well. Volleyball had their game. I know soccer also had a game today, so go Hatters for the sports.
That's awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for letting us speak today, and we will see you next time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions for our students before they go? From board members? Gladys?
Not a question, I just would like to make a comment. Sitting over the years, seeing various students come and sit on the board to be represented, I certainly appreciate the beautiful smiles, the fresh new faces, and I would like to welcome you to our board. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Gladys. And do we have a student from ACE? Awesome. Hello, can I start? Of course, yes. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I was here last.
Okay, and the young man sitting next to you?
Good evening, Board of Ed members, cabinet, and community members. Thank you for allowing me to represent and speak on behalf of the Alternative Center for Excellence. On August 30th, ACE staff and students participated in open day orientation. The day began with small guidance meetings and then moved outside of the weekend for large guidance. Large guidance included team building activities led by math teacher Anthony Holland. The day concluded with an abbreviated class schedule for students to meet their teachers. Student visits and interviews. Prospective DHS students are visiting ACE this week each day. DHS students are matched up with an ACE student host to shadow for the day and complete a short ready prompt. Next, students will have entrance interviews with their guardians and 2 ACE staff members.
My name is Daniel Joyner, and ACE is holding its Humanities Department grade level benchmark Friday, September 23rd.
Would you mind speaking into the mic?
So the ACE will be holding its Humanities Department grade level benchmark Friday, September 23rd. They have made a Google Classroom where the entire student body will participate in, depending on their highest grade in the English and Social Studies classes. Students will be working for a 3-hour period, and after that, staff will be holding a barbecue for the staff and students. They're looking for it to be a day of hard work and rewarding fun after. After that, ACE will be holding its first parents meeting Monday, October 3rd at 6 p.m. The evening will start with parents and students together to hear about the upcoming events at ACE and our goals for the 2022-2023 school year. After that, parents will get the opportunity to follow their students' schedules and meet with the ACE staff. As well, thank you
questions with Kayla and the details. I heard food, but I didn't hear the date that you're going to celebrate and have food for the superintendent and students and staff.
Oh, that's, I'm pretty sure Friday, September 23rd.
Thank you, Kayla.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's Kaylee.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
You got this.
Action items A and B, and just pause on C for now. Lauren, would you please make a motion for action item A? I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan in accordance with 22-94. Motion's on the floor, seconded by Ralph. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Action item B. Who would care to do that? Kate, would you do that?
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the 2022-2023 Head Start Food Service Agreement in accordance with Exhibit 22-95.
Motion on the floor, is there a second? Seconded by Bridget, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. I would like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda for a brief presentation on the Danbury Career Academy Phase 1.
Motion to amend.
Thank you. There's a second by Al. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So our person is walking in.
Oh, okay. All right, great. So while we wait for him, just to update the board, Louisa and I this afternoon attended a city building committee at which we received an update as to what its first phase involves. It's essentially demolition, the interior demolition, site prep work, repurchase of long lead items. And that's essentially it. The committee approved the phase, so now it comes to the full board. And the full board's approval is needed for the final state review. Did I give you plenty of time?
Yes, we were
Did I
trying
buy
to
you
get
some
in,
time?
we realized you had a secret door.
The floor is all yours. If you could, summarize this for us.
Sure. Okay, I think we're on. First of all, I want to thank you for adding this to your agenda. I realized we got you some information right at the last minute. I hope to spend some time taking any questions you may have so you guys are comfortable with evaluating what is in front of you. I'm going to very quickly summarize the Danbury into 4 fairly large phases. The first phase is the phase that actually is in front of you tonight, and it is strictly, predominantly a demolition phase. It is what we're trying to do is get this building prepped so we can do all hard construction work, which would be the next phase, and there's no delay. So our goal is to do all the interior demolition, that's remove ceilings, remove anything that needs to be removed, flooring material, walls, ceilings, eliminate electrical HVAC systems so they're prepped for new installations. And we're also looking to relocate some site utilities. There is going to be a gymnasium that is going to be built on the backside of this building. Unfortunately, there's a considerable amount of utilities where that building is going. So in order to, again, try to get a jump on this project, we're going to relocate them in this phase. So as soon as we're ready to actually do the next phase, there's nothing in our way. The building gets constructed, we do the excavation work, we put the footings in, the foundation. So that's part of this phase. We are also going to be doing a roof replacement as part of this phase. The reason for the roof replacement at this stage is because there's some significant long lead items for roofing material. They're talking anywhere between 4 to 5 months. Some people are saying 6 to 8 months. So we want to procure that now, put our order in with the factories and get those products so we can hit the road running when they come in. And then the last item, which follows along with the roof replacement thought process, is we're going to pre-purchase a generator, a lot of the electrical items that have tremendous lead item. I mean, we've heard 50 weeks for some equipment that we need for this building. We want to pre-purchase it now, go out to bid, get it, and have it ready for us so when we need to install it, we can install it. The second phase of the project is really the heart of the project. That's the one where we're doing all of the interior renovations, we're doing the building additions, we're going to be doing the greenhouse that you guys saw when I did my last presentation to you. When that phase is ready to go, which will be in a few months, we're going to actually go to your site facilities. We'll do a big presentation with them. We'll have the architect there, and then after they're comfortable with it, we'll come to the full board and we'll do a secondary presentation. The third phase is basically fixed furniture and equipment. That's the third phase, and the fourth one, which would conclude the project, is the technology. We always buy the technology at the very end because technology gets antiquated so quick that it's like the last thing we want to buy. So those are the 4 phases. Again, tonight in front of you is the, I would say, non-glamorous phase. It's a demolition phase. The spec that you have in front of you will cover such things as you got to shut the breaker off before you cut the wires. It's that type of work that's actually scoped out in the document that we sent to you the other day. So I know that's a very quick review of the Danbury Career Academy phases and what you have in front of you tonight. We had an opportunity to go to the state on the 27th, and we said, you know what, another municipality canceled, we're going to take the appointment, which drove us to kind of be a little more expeditiously than we probably would like to be with giving you guys some notice. But if you do need to take some time, as long as we can get back up to the state before the 27th, that would be great. I do need your approval before I go to the state. I do need your approval before I actually get my local officials to sign off on the project. So I would like to say there is some urgency in us trying to get to some. And like I said, when I heard there was an opportunity to go to the state a little earlier than anticipated, I just grabbed it. So, but I'll take any questions you guys may have.
Can you give us a cost breakdown of this
Sure.
first phase?
So the first phase, we just got the estimates in last week. It's somewhere around $14.6 million. That does cover all the demolition work, the pre-purchase that we spoke about. It's all inclusive. It covers all the other additional fees. But yeah, we're right around $14.6 million.
And examples of long lead items, you said roofing, the fireproofing.
Switchgear, roofing,
transformers.
Yep, and generator. Generator is outrageously long lead item. So yeah, we're trying to put those orders in with the factory, so it kind of meets in with our final construction, which will be done in phase 2.
And given the year the building was built, it's not that old, do you anticipate any risk around hazardous materials or USTs?
We really don't. The building, I think in mid to late 70s, obviously asbestos products were somewhat outlawed by then. But what we did is we actually not only had a phase 1 done, we brought our environmental consultant in this past week. He went in and just did another hard look, did some sampling. He again assured us there's probably nothing that's going to come back, but we really kind of pay a lot of close attention to that. We don't want to have any surprises.
Any questions from board members? I'll open the floor. Teresa?
The building is ours now?
No, we're still negotiating the final purchase of the building. I looked at several reiterations of the actual purchase agreement, but we're right at the tail end of making that work.
You mentioned the roofing materials on back order. I drive by Garrett Roofing every day. They seem to have a good supply of materials.
Yes, you
Were
go.
they ever considered?
Well, so we do a competitive bid. Obviously, he's a local company, and we like to see that he has product there. Ultimately, he has to provide the cheapest price, most responsible price. Let me just say that, the most responsible price. And if he does, yeah, it'd be great. I have a feeling that material is actually for another job that he's probably got it ordered for.
Al?
Yeah, Antonio, the 14.6 million, does that include any unanticipated costs in renovation?
So we always carry an owner's contingency. It is a very small one because all we're doing is demolition here. So we're really not anticipating finding a lot of unforeseen issues, but there is a small contingency in there. God forbid we find something that we're not anticipating dealing with, or something that we may want to deal in advance of phase 2, incorporate it into this phase because it makes sense.
You're relocating all the utilities.
Just the utilities that are in the direct location of where our gym addition is going.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Michelle?
Timeline, milestone schedules, the remaining budget allocated for phases 2, 3, 4, anything like that, existing HVAC system, is that up to date? How does that impact it with the new grant money that was approved with the state?
Sure.
$750 million. But basically a milestone schedule as to when we're expected, like the lead time you're talking about, 50 weeks. What is an example of that? You said there were several pieces that are...
Transformers. Very difficult to get a transformer today, especially when you're dealing with this size transformers like we have in this building that we're going to need. So that's an example of a long lead time. Generators, we're looking at 1 to 1.5 megawatt generator. That's not something that anybody stocks. It's something that is custom built. Switchgear, items like that are all specialty items that we used to be able to get them a little quicker because the plants were up and running. The order would come in, they would just execute the order. Now there seems to be a backlog of orders, so you have to get in line. And I will cover some of the other questions. I can get some other questions. So as phase 2 gets further developed, as I mentioned to you, in the next few months we'll be finalizing that design piece of it. We're actually working with the Board of Education staff, our colleagues on your side of the table, have been reviewing all the progress drawings, got some great feedback, had to go in, redesign some items. As soon as that phase comes to an end, we'll actually secure an estimate. And when we do our presentation to you guys, we'll actually have that estimate with us, and we can update you on that estimate. So far, the phase 1 phase is actually trending to be right where we anticipated to be, so that's good.
And when is that?
We figured around 14 million, yeah.
No, I'm saying, when is that expected to be completed, and then phase two actually takes off?
So phase one demolition is about a 3 to 4 month phase. Obviously, the roofing, once the roofing comes in, we'll actually start the roofing work. So that will actually probably carry a little farther than the 4 month time period that I just mentioned to you. And then the long lead item is, as they come in, we'll actually store them somewhere safe, and we'll put them into the works for phase two.
When was the original meeting that was supposed to be for the state? When was the original meeting for the state?
Well, we didn't have an original meeting. We asked when we could get up there, and they said, well, interesting enough, we've had a cancellation. If you guys think you're gonna be ready, we'll come up. So
It's very, very quick.
Yeah.
To review all this, honestly, it's a lot. Just
look, I
understand.
just acknowledge that to you, but I also do want to tell you, it is a demolition phase, and it is a phase where we're going to put the next phase. You guys should take a lot of time looking at it, because we spent a lot of time with your staff coming up with room layouts, coming up with the way they're going to use the building, administrate the building, and all of the site work that goes with it. But this phase here is more of a utilitarian phase of doing demolition and purchasing equipment.
Antonio, thanks for coming down to talk to us this evening. I think everybody around the table here is really excited to see papers with the start of these plans. So thank you guys for bringing that to us and putting that together. I guess, so there's two things. I didn't realize the roof had to be replaced. Have we done any kind of evaluation for the possibility of solar?
So let me just say that in order for us to really have a school that meets a lot of the requirements for the state, we have to be able to show them that our renovation is going to have at least a 20 to 25 year lifespan. The existing roofs, there's one roof that's fairly new, but they're well into that 20-year period. Same thing with the HVAC equipment. HVAC equipment doesn't meet the standards for high performance. The equipment looks great, it just doesn't really meet the requirements of the state, therefore it does have to be removed. Those are the drivers, if you will, for some of the replacement items that we're looking at.
But I guess I'm wondering, given that the roof is being replaced anyways, that would be an ideal time if we were going to consider something like solar. And I just don't know if that's part of this equation.
No, we definitely did not introduce solar into this project. We do have some examples for engineering and for educational purposes, where we have these very well-developed solar installations that can be used for educational purposes. And you can actually see electricity being made, where it's used, how much it's being used. So we did introduce that into the project as a requirement for educational specs.
Thanks. And then the other question I had, forgive me if I'm wandering off in a direction that doesn't make sense here, but you were talking about telecom, like location of like electrical outlets and that kind of thing at this stage. I'm wondering if there's going to be an opportunity, if we could do like a special meeting to have a conversation about it, because I understand we're just in the demo phase right now, but if we're choosing where, electrical connections are going to be, where, maybe internet or telephone connections are going to be, it would help for me to be able to see, like, to get sort of a visual lay of things. And I understand we're not at that phase yet, but to be able to see that and be able to evaluate it would be very helpful.
We typically will rely on your staff to kind of help us with that, as they understand pretty much how they're going to use a classroom. We also rely on our architect, who understands the academic program, has been working with them to make sure that they can actually use that room and where the outlets are to facilitate the educational requirements that they have. So, but we can get into that, when we make our presentation, which I would advise you just have a meeting for that specifically, because it'll take us a long time to get through those plans, yeah?
So with that in mind, I don't want to monopolize here. I understand, you're planning for the 27th and that you have other protocols to go through at the city level with officials there. If we were, is there any possibility that we could give you a vote like a week from now, 5 days from now? I understand you have a timeline, I don't want to interfere with that.
Yeah, look, if you guys need more time, I'll gladly cancel the appointment. It's not a problem. Honestly, maybe this was my misjudgment and my assumption here, but because this was such a utilitarian phase of the project consisting of demolition, I thought it was a good opportunity. I know the timelines were tight, but it's a good opportunity for us to grab this meeting.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to cancel the meeting, but we're at the 14th today, so, there's 13 days between now and then, and I'm just trying to get a sense from you if, you need that full 13 days to go through whatever you have to go through with city officials.
So 1 week prior to the meeting, I would have to have my local officials review the plans and sign them off. They typically like to know that you guys have endorsed the project, because if they start reviewing them and you guys don't like the project, or you decide you want to go in a different direction, and then they just spent all that staff time doing that. I could beg them to start the review process, just to make sure that it's done, so we can submit their approval or whatever review comments that they may have to the state on the 27th. So if you work backwards, I think then we kind of take a look at the middle of next week would be probably, that would probably be the limit of pushing everybody to accommodate us being up at the state on the 27th.
Okay, thank you. Gladys.
Thank you, Antonio, for bringing the information to us at the board. And my understanding tonight as a board member, that we are to accept action item C, which includes phase 1.
That's correct.
To get them started, so we won't be going back and forth, and we don't know what could come up that he might need extra time to do what he needs to do, and to add another meeting onto that. I'm comfortable with voting for this, that he get started, and his people get started, that he needs to get this moving, and then when we get to maybe the end of phase 1, let him come back and give us some more additional information, because as I try to get a hold on it, and I received the email that, we as board members can come up and look at the diagram that's over there on the table. And I say most of us work and have other things, so we can't come over here and sit and try to go through everything. So, I take your word as bringing information and good information to the board, and I feel comfortable moving this along to vote on this tonight. And then if there's anything that comes up, you need extra time, you have the extra time. So, that was my only comment.
Thank you for that, Gladys. Yeah, thank you. I agree, and I'm going to ask the question that Rich Jalbert asked at the city committee meeting. So, how are we time-wise for opening in the fall of 2024?
So we're still shooting for that date. Every day we're kind of evaluating where the construction industry is. I think today you gave you a perfect example of trying to find blank rock cylinders, right? Yes. Can't find it. So 3 months ago, 4 months ago, it was impossible to buy wood. Well, that's gotten much better. So we have to consistently keep an eye on where the industry's going and constantly react. But we are shooting for that date. We're doing everything we can, including taking advantage of an opportunity like the 27th. That's where we are. if for some reason it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to hit that date, I'm gonna update you when we come back in a few months for phase 2 anyway. But you'll be the first to know.
So, my personal feeling is aligned with Ms. Cooper's. I just would like to take an informal kind of poll to see where we are, if we want to vote tonight or table. Is there anyone?
Call the motion.
Okay. And I know how Lisa is feeling about this. She and I, were at the city building committee earlier today, and we were both aligned as well. Don't want to speak for her, obviously, but we were feeling pretty comfortable after that meeting.
Yeah, Mrs. Chairperson, if you really feel you need some extra time, don't let me rush you. I want you to be comfortable. This was just an opportunity that we saw an advantage to grabbing it, and it also shows the state that we're pushing ourselves to meet deadlines. So, but if you need some extra time, please. I've been working with you guys since I started here. You've always trusted me. I would never lead you down the wrong road. This is a very utilitarian phase of the project. I apologize for kind of springing it on you at the last minute.
Okay, it should be the easiest one, I think. Al?
Madam Chair, just a comment. Fine job to Antonio, Mr. Hughes, and the whole staff did at Ellsworth Avenue School. And excellent reputation, sir, you have for your work as city engineer and a host of other things that you had. So I am totally comfortable taking the vote tonight.
Okay, great. Would you like to make the motion?
I'd like to make that motion. For action item C, Board of Education authorizes the chairman of the Board of Education and the superintendent of schools to approve the final plan, specifications, cost estimates for phase 1 of the Danbury Career Academy project and sign the SCG-042 forms for submission to the State of Connecticut Office of School Construction Grants Review for approval in accordance with Exhibit 22-96.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gladys. I think, would you prefer a roll call? Roll call.
Teresa,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Michelle, Kate,
Yes.
Gladys,
Yes.
Lauren, yes, Bridget,
Yes.
Julie,
Abstain.
Ralph,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Lisa. So that's, the yeas have it, the motion passes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll see you in a few months.
Great. Thank you, Antonio, and to you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for being here. Moving on to our superintendent's report. So I'll have the floor.
Thank you. So I'd like to start off this evening introducing Mr. Brent Dean, who is our new Director of Academy Partnership here in the district. We do have him here this evening, so I'd like him to run up to the microphone and we just start out. I've asked Sarah and Brent to say a couple of words this evening. Just wanted to start off with Danbury with a background in education and leadership. His most recent role being served as an academy coach at Maplewood High School in Nashville, Tennessee for 5 years. In his role as academy coach, he worked closely with the academies of national teams to promote happenings and develop local partnerships to help prepare and expose students to real-world opportunities. And it's those real-world opportunities that we are most excited about here in Danvers. So I'm going to hand it exciting opportunity that frankly all of us as staff members are really excited about. But second, just want to kind of talk to the unique nature of Rick's work and how that's going to help us make it. Dean?
Thank you.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about Dean and how he has come to be over the last couple of years. He himself has been an idea in terms of leadership and what this academy needed for several years. So this is the person now who's going to help us realize some of our goals. So first, Brett thought he was going to move up here from Tennessee to escape the heat a little bit, and that is not the case. But early on in the development of this project, as part of a 5-year strategic plan on how to launch an academy and move to a transformation model, the idea of having strategic partners in the business community was one of the most essential components, aside from the educational piece, is how do we build those relationships and how do we actually partner with industry experts to build and to be responsive to the community needs, but also to prepare students for college, career, and beyond. And so when we went down to Nashville, as many of you know, this is sort of the genesis of the project was started with that visit down there and some research work that we had done. And we were obviously blown away. We came back and got to work right away. But we were very impressed with the amazing community development and liaisons that they had developed over the course of several years with an organization called Pencil. And then how that liaised with all of the high schools down there in terms of sponsorships, internships, externships, resources for the schools, jobs, summer work, you name it. It was just prevalent throughout. And so we came back, we knew that hiring a director of academy partnerships was going to be a key part of the process. And some folks said, why do we have to hire somebody now? The academies, they're not open yet. What's going on? Well, you can't open an academy and have fully developed partnerships and internships and things ready to go unless someone's actually working on that work. We were very fortunate when we posted that job that someone from the academies of Nashville applied for it. We almost fell over. So within a very short period of time, Brent has made a tremendous impact on everybody he meets. He's an unbelievable relationship builder. He's one of my new favorite people ever in the last couple of months since we've gotten to know him. And he's covered a lot of ground since he's been here. So I'd like to introduce to you Brett Dean.
Everybody, I'm really humbled by that. Thank you, I appreciate it. I've been enjoying my time since I've been here in Danbury. The energy has been great from the surrounding businesses and organizations. I will say that what I've been tasked to do is to secure, maintain, and nurture partnerships. And so that comes in the form of going out to different businesses and chatting with them about the academy model and the potential behind it, even post-secondary institutions as well. And so far I've been getting really good feedback from them. Just to give you just a few highlights of the businesses that I've been able to attain, it's been over 15, maybe 20. But you have Wells Fargo Advisors, you have Vetro IT, Danbury Mission Technologies, Nuvance Health, and a lot more. I will go back to Nuvance. They have already been partnered with Danbury High School. But when we talk about different engagement opportunities, we're talking about industry-related field trips, job shadowing opportunities, internship opportunities. Those professionals collaborating with our teachers so that they can explain what those employability skills look like. So when it's time to teach those kids, they're given 21st century skills. And those businesses come into the classroom to see what learning looks like so that they can tailor those needs as kids come to those businesses too. So the idea of these businesses and post-secondary partners having a hand in raising our youth is powerful amongst itself. And so you guys should know that this model is super helpful for the city of Danbury. It really is. It's going to move you in the right direction. So all hands on deck with that. And so thus far, the energy and help from the staff has been great. We've been chatting closely with the chamber to give us some advice on certain things, and they've been helpful too. So just know that I've been busy knocking on doors, having those conversations left and right. You'll see me all around. I've seen Ms. Michelle at so many different events. We're always seeing each other, but just know that I'm here, I'm working, and if you ever want to reach out via email or phone, just hit me up anytime. So just know that this thing is going to work. So that is my spiel. Does anybody have any questions so far? Excuse me.
I have two questions. That was some intro, man. Thank you, Garrett. Oof, I mean, you got some stuff in front of you to handle. So I have just two questions. So how do you identify a potential partner, business? Is it based on obviously what the academy's teaching, but how do you, being not from the area, how do you?
Absolutely. So looking at our potential offerings for academies and pathways, I started with that. Prior to coming up to Danbury, I did a lot of research on you guys to see what you have. Connecticut has a lot of headquarters here. In addition to that, you guys are huge in manufacturing and everything else too. So with that being said, I did my own research. After that, I was able to chat with PJ Prenti, the president and CEO of the chamber, and we talked about some of the different industries that needed to be highlighted as well too. And so that, in addition to other people in Danbury, where I was able to get some contacts and kind of talk about the needs of the city, directed my focus on who I should target and why we should knock on their doors and talk to them.
Do you find that the business demographic is the same as from Nationals or Nationals business demographic, or you're finding Danbury a little different?
Danbury is somewhat similar to Nashville because Danbury is somewhat urban to me, and so I'm used to working in an urban city. So I don't see it any different. Of course, it's not as large as Nashville, but I'm comfortable with the size. I don't need anything bigger right now. But so I'm not just aimlessly, doing it on my own. I do have help on the outside. Right. That's what I do appreciate.
Yeah. Are you reaching outside of Danbury as well?
I am. We need the help. So we need the talent to stay here in Danbury, right? We need them to come on the outside as well. So I am looking on the outside too.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from board members? Teresa?
Working with the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
Any other questions from board members? Yeah.
Nice to meet you all as well. You all have a great night.
Thank
So,
you.
Mr. Dean, before you leave, just to make it a little more.
Oh man.
Later on in the agenda, we will have an announcement about an opportunity to meet with. We have a joint press conference, press release with the city of Danbury and the Danbury Chamber of Commerce. I believe our meeting is on the 22nd of September. We'll have a couple more hors d'oeuvres out at City Hall. Have an opportunity with PJ and the mayor of the city to introduce Mr. Dean to the varying city partners and businesses in the Danbury and greater Danbury area. So, folks he has not already knocked on their door, they will have a more formal or informal introduction to him that day. So we're looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
It's 12 to 1. 12 to 1 on the 22nd. See you all there.
Thank you. Oh. So next on the superintendent's report, the team is going to help me a little bit with some updates, but I just want to start off by one. Mr. Dave mentioned this earlier. Ellsworth Annex, we had an opportunity to have a press conference a couple of weeks ago, just before school opened, with Mayor Esposito and his team. Antonio, his team was here. Tom Hughes, superintendent of the project, was here. They opened up an amazing annex to Ellsworth. We had an opportunity to open up additional kindergarten classrooms, which ultimately provides more space on the regular side of Ellsworth. We also have additional early childhood classrooms now, new and improved early childhood classrooms, and equally as important, depending on who you ask, our registration center has now been updated, new and improved. So when our families enter this school community, they are now entering a professional space that's really representative of Danbury school community. So I just want to thank Marty Durkin, who's not here this evening, for all of the work that it takes. So what the board and the community may not know, part of the architectural plans, Tom Hughes, IT team, everyone is meeting behind the scenes to open up these buildings. And certainly at the table for these discussions, from everything from where the outlets go, K also want to talk about the first week and then the first day before school started, a couple days before, and that's convocation. And I believe I've heard a couple of different reports that had convocation in 2015 or 2016, and whatever the case, this school year was an amazing opening, a great day of unity, focus, and purpose for the school district. We filled up, our families who do not know, we filled up our football field. Every seat was pretty much taken in the stands of the field. We had speakers come in, yours truly, the board chair, the mayor, our teacher of the year. It was really an amazing day. But most importantly, our staff was totally engaged in the event. The day was sponsored by the Bar Foundation as part of our POG effort, which Dr. Kessler is going to speak to later this evening. I can't thank everyone enough for their engagement and their participation and support to pulling that day off. It really was an amazing day. I also want to thank STA and the bus company for, they volunteered to drive our staff to the school that day. At no cost, just their time, they gave us their time, which is a tremendous help for us because, quite frankly, we could not fit all the cars in the parking lot, like graduation day times many. Because typically graduation day, you have a whole bunch of people in the cars, and so Karen and her team helped to organize bus drops, cars parked here, buses pick them up, brought them to the school. Really was an amazing day. I also know Kara, her team, her administrative support team, we got thousands of t-shirts, and all of a sudden it sounds pretty simple. You get t-shirts in the district and you just hand them out. Then someone says, well, I need a medium, not a large. And the next thing you know, you have some very busy days ahead. So I just want to thank you and your team for loving to put this day together. Because I think it really meant a lot to all of us in the school. And then next on the list, of course, we had transportation, which quite frankly can absolutely handcuff the school district if it does not go smoothly. And we had a smooth opening of school in regard to transportation. So I'm just going to ask to provide a couple of updates for the first couple of weeks of school, starting with transportation, with staffing updates. Also, our kindergarten orientation this year was a little different for us. I'm going to ask Dr. Casimiro and Kelly Trucia to speak to those things. And then just overall, just kind of how the first couple of weeks of school is going. John, would you mind starting off with this before? Sorry.
Thank you. Big difference between this year and a year ago. STA had a full complement of drivers. In fact, they even brought in some spare drivers and backup drivers from other districts just to make sure that our start went off very smoothly. All of the drivers practiced their runs for a couple days before school. That made a big difference. We also did not have to bus over to St. Joe's in Brookfield, and that helped. That gave us time to do our regular obligations. So I think with that, and we really did see, I think, an extra effort from them. The superintendent just described one of those, but in all the schools that I was out at the first couple of days, you could see drivers really trying to do the right thing, being on time, driving safely. So we are very pleased with the effort of the company and the effort of the drivers. So that's my report.
Thank you.
So we continue to be busy in the Office of Talent Management, and we're working at a full pace. So far this summer, we have brought in and onboarded 159 certified staff members and another 75 or so non-certified staff members, and we have 185 substitutes rostered with Kelly Ed. The Kelly Ed roster continues to increase weekly. I meet with them every other week to talk about status. They're consistently bringing in people for interviewing, continuing to build that pool to get us up over 200 as we start to need subs as the fall wanes on for us. We still have 28 certified openings. That's a lot of teachers, particularly at this time of year. We still have openings, and we continue to lose teachers, as do all of our surrounding neighbors. We're kind of bouncing folks around from one district to another. We have right now 15 of our teachers on hold, meaning they're going to go to another district, but we've asked them to remain for 30 days while we search for replacements. We're literally swapping in some cases. So we're continuing to work at chipping away at those openings. The one most persistent that we're still having a trouble is with Kelly's special ed tutors. We still have about 60 of those openings, as we did last year. So we're still working pretty well at pace, trying to fill all of those open spots. We've seen this year about a 15% turnover, I think, of your teacher ranks. And so later in the fall, I'll come to you, as I usually do each year, to talk with you about the demographics of your class. I will tell you that the folks that came for new teacher orientation, and Dr. Casimiro will speak more about this, they came for 3 days of training and cheering and lunch with the union and mingling and getting to know each other. And I think it was, to echo what everybody said today, it was a really positive start to the year. We have some really eager, really interesting new staff members who are now in the process of integrating themselves in. So that's my report for now.
So how many teachers, compared to year, is this year you see more teachers leaving than years past?
Yeah, we're seeing more leaving in the summer this year than we have in the past several years. And it's difficult to figure out why that is right now. We've got post-pandemic data, so we're trying to figure out where people are going. But this year we were running about 112 teachers have left us this summer. That's up considerably from where we've been the last couple of years, and we're trying to figure out why. But I do think some of it is post-pandemic. I also think, and Mr. Watson and I have this conversation daily, we're not alone. Everybody's in a similar boat.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to speak to you a little bit about the kindergarten orientation that we have this year. So we decided to kind of stagger the start of our incoming kindergartners, and overwhelmingly the feedback from our administrators, our teachers, and our parents is that it has been a very positive thing. So just to remind you, we had spoken about this in the spring, but our kindergartners came in for basically a meet and greet, which was a 1-hour meeting, an hour, hour and a half, depending on the school and the size of the group. They came in for a 1-hour meeting on the first day of school, and that was student and parent. So the parents got to come in the building, meet the teacher, they got to bring in all their materials, check out where their desk is, take a walk of the school, see what a bus looks like, all those different important things on the first day of kindergarten. And the parents brought the students to school and brought them home. Most of the classes were split up into about 3 groups, in some cases 4, so it was very small, kind of intimate groups, so teachers got an opportunity to talk with parents and really alleviate a lot of those pressures of where am I going, who's teaching my child, and really kind of ease their transition in. Then on the second and third day of the school year, the students came in for a half day. And so they were transported by bus, and they came in for regular morning time, and they left around lunchtime. And we also received mostly positive feedback on this. And the reason for that is kindergartners are transitioning off of, a lot of them, either not being in school or a daycare program, and the day is long. And then on Friday, which was the 4th day of school, which was the last day before the weekend, we brought them in for a full day of school. So this eased kind of a nice transition in. We are looking, like I said, those 2 half days. Should it be 1 day? Should it be 2 days? How should we ease them in? Really looking to backwards plan based on the calendar. We understand that there are some childcare issues on having a reduced day of school, and we're certainly sensitive to those. But I will say district-wide, there was a feeling, not just at the kindergarten level, but at the elementary overall, of just calmness. Not having kindergartners come in on the bus on the first day, I think, largely contributed to our successful transportation on day 1 of school. Kindergartners are the most challenging, as they've never ridden the bus, they don't know where they're going. Also having the kindergartners be transported separately home on those half days, the bus drivers got to know the students, know who they are, know who the parents are. It just was a nice soft touch to bring the kids into the school year. And from a behavioral perspective, usually when we have kindergartners, and some kindergartners are overwhelmed by the day, my team tends to get called and tapped on, and I will say, knock on wood, we have had far fewer of those
this school year. So we will be looking to institute a very similar plan for next year. Like I said, we're looking at how many half days is the right amount to be sensitive and balance that. But it was a huge success, and I think we have seen kind of a return to a little bit more normal since prior to the pandemic, particularly related to those kindergartners.
And my understanding, Kelly, other districts are handling that in the same way. That
this is very common practice that kindergartners come in kind of separately, and then some school districts do up to 2 weeks of half days to transition students in. I'm not suggesting we should do that here. But it is important that it is a long day, a 6.5-hour day, even if you've been in full day daycare or childcare. Kindergarten's different, right? It's more than just playing. And there's a lot of transitions, and there's a lot of building independence, going over rules and routines. So it really is nice. And what we find is when kids are successful in those first few days, it just sets the tone for the rest of the year across not just the kindergarten, but really across the building.
And they meet the required 185 schooling.
180, yes.
Oh, 180, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, we billed 185, sorry.
Yes, you are correct. Don't add any more. No. Yes, we meet the requirements.
Yeah.
Like, I know the teachers also appreciated having that staggered start a little bit because they allowed to personalize those contacts with families. And when the kids came in, they had already met, so it was wonderful. So as Kim mentioned before, we had new teacher orientation, probably one of our largest ever, with the numbers that she mentioned. And in fashion, a lot of our supervisors and content areas had a wonderful day supporting them and getting them oriented to our literacy programs, our numeracy programs, our STEM programs, depending on the content areas that they were in, and also going over sort of just our general expectations for the school year. They were a great group indeed, and we're very excited to support them. They are a large group, so we do have our coaches now kind of dividing and conquering on how to provide the best amount of support to those teachers to get them started with classroom management, making sure they have all the materials in order, and helping them orienting them through the pacing of their first couple of units that they're going to have to teach with the kids. So it was a good experience and a very good opening, given the amount of volume that we were dealing with, and having a lot of openings still to fill with interviewing and supporting on in the background. So as everybody said, it was a very positive opening.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to go to the next update, and that is ask if we can go to goal 2. We have a lot of folks joining us this evening to support family, school, and community partnership goal. So I'm going to move because Dr. Andy and her team are going to come up and present.
We'll probably present right from here because that's going to be easier if you just slide. We have a PowerPoint for you.
Andy, before you get started, I just want to say this update really is an extension from last year. Both of these superintendent goals are extensions from last year. And in this one, all of the goals are important to this district. This is one that we have prioritized, looking to continue to grow and develop in this area. And I just want to applaud Dr. D, Grace, and Trinity Liaison in the audience, really helping to move this agenda forward. We prioritize connecting with families and partnering with families to help improve student outcomes. And I think we've made some significant steps since the spring of 2022. And I feel like we're positioned really well to continue to build strong partnerships with our families. So looking forward to the presentation, updating the board on the great things that this team has been doing. So I will get out of the way so that we can talk about what we have done and the work that we plan to implement next. Thank you. Grace?
So thank you for giving us this opportunity to come in and speak. And I am going to introduce all our folks as we go through. As I go through the PowerPoint, I'll stop and we'll introduce who's here with us tonight. As most of you know, I'm Andy, and I'm the Director of Family, School, Community Partnerships, along with my Assistant Director, Grace Molina, and my wonderful team of folks behind me, and we will introduce all those folks in a little bit. actual framework in which we work under a federal framework and a state framework. So you can flip it. But our goal is the goal that the district has. So we partner with families, community, public, private sector to foster vested interests in schools and collectively create opportunities for deeper engagement for student learning and success. All the work that we do, some may seem kind of like on the outside, but everything we do is how can we help families to support their children so that children reach academic success during their time here in Danbury and beyond. Okay. And so we kind of use a little tagline of engage, empower, and educate. We find that we need to engage our folks, and so our family liaisons are providing that bridge to be able to bring families in and give them that sense of comfort, create that bridge between home. We also at the same time want to empower our families. We want to empower our families to take advantage of all the different opportunities that we offer. We want them to feel good about what they're doing and how they're doing it, because then the ultimate is to educate everyone. We educate the families, they help educate their children. We're also educating teachers along the way too. Our administrative staff will come to me with questions about families. Board members have in the past too. That door is always open. So our goals under that are to really place trust and teamwork at the center of the home-school relationship, and that truly is a relationship that bridge between home and school, presented and worked on by all of our family liaisons, is the crux of what is student success. When you have schools that are well bridged with families, and there's trust, and there's that give and take bi-directional relationship, then students succeed. We anchor all of our family engagement strategies with high impact strategies, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. And we invest in building systems and structures that enable the work, and you'll see that in a second as well. Next slide. So as I said, we ground our work in the National Dual Capacity Framework written by Karen Mapp and approved by our Secretary of Education back several years ago in 2018, and it has since been revised, as well as the Connecticut Full and Equal Partnership Guide, which Danbury was one of their sites that they spent a lot of hours in as the State Department of Ed and its partners wrote this guide, listening to our Danbury families of what our families wanted. And so we maintain that there is a non-negotiable requirement of every initiative. An element of our plan is consciously linked to student learning and improving student outcomes. So this is the dual capacity. I think I showed you this last time, and I know it's really, really hard to read. So if you go to the next slide, I really broke down what's so important. Over the last couple of weeks, under Kevin's, Superintendent Walston's gentle nudge, we now have put Family University as an umbrella of everything we do. So all of the work that we do to build these 4 Cs fall under this large umbrella of Family University. Everything, all of our trainings that we do, and you'll see that in a second, everything is under Family University. Okay? University meaning we want families, A, to participate, and B, for all of our families, we want them to be thinking about college and university and life beyond high school. So, we can go back 1 second. So here's what we're building with our families. Okay? We want to build these 4 Cs, and that comes from that green section of that slide: capabilities, connections, cognition, and confidence. We want our families to feel that they can come and speak to a principal. Last night, I left our new family and family Faith Center there at Osborne Street, and spent about 20 minutes in the parking lot as Ellsworth had their open house. I don't know how many families she had, and I'm not even sure that the principal knows. They were loaded with families. She did it in half-an-hour segments, and the families, because they feel comfortable now, they have a wonderful liaison at that school that made those connections and invited those families out. We're seeing big changes in our open houses. So we're building the confidence of our families to be able to come out. We're also building connections, and Grace is going to talk a little bit about connections with some of the work that we've done with PEP. And then, of course, there's skills and abilities. So one of the things that I've always thought about over the years is, wouldn't it be nice to have this year-long calendar all brought out so that everyone can see what we're doing? And And so this year, Grace is this technical guru that's absolutely wonderful, and I can give her stuff and say, can you make this look really good? And she does. And so you'll see, and we'll talk about what these programs are in a minute. This is our calendar of events. This we did probably 6 weeks ago. We changed it 3 weeks ago, and now we've had new partners come in. Our Nurturing Fathers Network is coming in. Pro Dads is coming in. We've got the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts coming in. And so I need to add some more things to this. This is a constantly moving document. Hopefully next year when we get more of our partners on board, we'll be able to say to them in June, okay, we need to meet now to plan this next year calendar. But this calendar this year is going to be a little bit fluid. So, our next one. So how do we get this information out to our parents? Okay? And so our strategy here is to develop a high level of communication, collaboration, interaction with our Danbury Public School community. It's built on trust, confidence, and credibility. So Mike is going to, Dr. Seelig is going to talk a little bit about the website when we're done with this. But one of the things that we started working on about 2 years ago was what would be a better way to communicate with our families. We knew that we started to talk about wanting liaisons. That's two-way communication. But we also realized these robocalls just weren't doing the trick. And after so many robocalls, how many people just say, I'm not listening to the next one, it must be the same one, right? We've all been guilty of that at some point. And so we needed to find something that would, A, be a little bit easier for families, 2, give families options on how they receive those messages, and 3, that they have the ability to talk back to their teachers, talk back to their schools. And I don't mean talk back in a negative way, but communicate back with their teachers. And so we're proud to say that last spring we started to roll out Parent Square, and we have over 16,000 individuals on it, so their families. Now remember, when people sign up for Power School, they may put themselves, the husband, and somebody else on that communication train. So right now we have over 16,000 individuals that receive information through Parent Square. So we're really, really excited about that. Parents register using Power School, and each night Power School syncs to Parent Square. So as new families register, it syncs, and then Grace almost pretty much every morning sends out an invite to those new families to join Parent Square. It's really important that families join Parent Square, verify their information, and then they go ahead and they sign up for the app. Right now we have 4,400 plus families using the Parent Square app. This was as of last Friday. I think that's one up. And as of last Friday, we have 99.1% of all of our families are contactable by email, text, or phone. Okay? Our data department does an absolute wonderful job. Every day after parents verify, they get a notification of whose phone numbers aren't working, who's not doing what, whose email is dead or whatever, and then they fix those. They make sure that they're fixed in Power School, and then it syncs back to parents. So we're really, really happy about how this is working. We do set up, administrators are set up in it, teachers have helped to set up, or school secretaries have set up the actual classes in the school, and I do believe the Board of Ed, you have your own Parent Square group as well. So that is something we can talk to your chairperson about using. Absolutely. Another thing we do is our family and community newsletter. Okay. Superintendent Walston will be doing a monthly newsletter, and then my office will be doing another newsletter 2 weeks later. Other ways to communicate is monthly chats with Kevin, which will start at the end of October. Those are just informal sessions where he gets to be on Zoom. Hopefully we can do some in person, and it's just give and take dialogue of what families just show up for that. So we have found over last year that was a very valuable, or he felt it was a very valuable meeting for to hear from families. Okay, so then we go to our education and resources. And I'm going to let Grace talk a little bit about our new Promise program, and I kind of want to set up how this happened, or do you want me to wait to your slide? Wait to your slide? Okay. All right. We'll just pass that. So now it's your guys' turn. So we have been very fortunate through different funding that we received we have, proud to announce tonight, 100% school-based family liaisons at every one of our schools. And so I'd like our liaisons to stand up, if you would. I think pretty much everybody's here. I'd like you to start in the back row, your name and your school, and just go very quickly. Through everyone.
I'm Monica Molegati, I'm in Kansas City Primary.
I am Patricia Sanchez. I am on the Spanish School.
I'm Juliana Delicia, I'm at Shelter Rock.
I am Patricia Chacon, and I am at Middle Primary School.
You have to talk a little bit louder.
My name is Patricia Chacon, and I am at Middle Primary School.
Anacenia Rodriguez, King Street Intermediate.
Betsabe Ambrosi, Airways School.
I'm Doralis Florentino, and I'm at Danbury High School.
Cassandra Perez, and I'm at South Street School.
Diana Sanchez, AIS Magna School.
I'm Lori, I'm a parent educator for early childhood school readiness.
Yes, I'm Baby from Rockview.
Jean-Marie Molina at Rogers Park Jean-Marie is doing our translation today for our families too, which is going to be a new thing for all of our board meetings as well. So we're really, really excited to have these folks. Thank you so, so very much. So it was a process getting everyone, brought in, onboarded. Thank you to our talent office to help making that happen. I think we're missing one or two people tonight, but this group meets every Thursday. We brainstorm for an hour, we problem solve, different people come in to speak, community resources come in and tell the liaisons about energy assistance, and then they share that with their families. So we have all kinds of different things going on. So we're really, really proud of our family liaisons and the work that you've done. It's just amazing. Some days they start off by welcoming families in, then calling home for those children that have called out for the day. I think some of you do lunch coverage. Some of you are helping the nurse make calls. What am I missing? Parent-teacher conferences, open houses. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. So helping in the class with students get that extra support as well. So it really has been an amazing change in our district. The other thing that we have is the Danbury Family Resource Guide that will be going out via Parent Square to all of our parents, and then later down the road we'll get it out in paper copies to all our families. This is all kinds of resources from mental health to who's at what school to what recreation opportunities we have in the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a really comprehensive document. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the fun we had this summer. So I have to say that we ran an exceptional, well-run both 21st century learning program and a sensational program. We used a lot of our community partners, so our sensational kids that were there got to spend an entire week at New Pine Farm Education Center learning about what that was. And we also had a camping day. So you'll see the kids are actually roasting marshmallows there. And in the bottom slide, I believe that is one of the teacher's campers and trucks and his dog, and they set up tents. We do use the Scholastic Lit curriculum, curriculum. And so they're reading during the summer, they're doing art, all different types of things. The 21st century wrapped around our summer school, so families could send their children to a part-time summer school program and then have care on the afternoon for that as well. We built gardens this summer, all kinds of fun things with the summer, with the kids for the summer. And it's not just the students, but it was families. We had families programs going on as well.
How many students, families?
So in sensational, we had 140, and we had about 220 in the 21st century programs. Yeah, it's a lot. Other ways that we're supporting families, we have the Stop and Shop Foundation that I think I mentioned this last year, funded our schools $30,000 for gift cards to our pantries to be able to buy supplies and stuff through, and food through Stop and Shop at their food pantries. So the cards just arrived the other day. And then in order to get children quickly in school, We go through the registration process at the Faith Center, and then they go to make a clinic appointment, and the clinics are so backed up that it's 2 to 3 more weeks or longer. So we partnered with Richfield VNA, and we see about 15 kids every other week. So we're processing 30 more children that get into school much sooner than waiting for weeks down the road. So they have to have that physical first. So this has been one of our best programs. So this started as a little inkling in my mind and a couple of people's minds years ago when we flipped to Google Learning, and we realized that teachers needed help, families needed help. How do you access Google Classroom? What is Power School? What is Parent Square? And all of those different pieces. We had the advantage of using some of Karen Matt's students from Harvard. 3 absolute wonderful people, Arnell, Sam, and Yu Ping, came on as students as part of their project, and Lindy Corporation funded, and we have this absolute wonderful curriculum. So I'm going to turn this part over to Grace for Grace to tell you all about New Promise and where this has gone, because it started out really slow, and then all of a sudden, boom, we got hit with wonderful registrations. The superintendent has come out, met our families.
Yeah, so thank you, and it's been a whirlwind summer in the best way. I'm supposed to turn this on. Can everybody hear me? Testing. Oh my gosh. So it's been such a whirlwind summer in the best way. We blinked and September was here and we thought, okay, the school year is starting. It's going to slow down a bit. And I don't know where that came from. But so as Ann said, New Promise kind of started as this idea. And we got together with the Harvard students, and before I knew it, we had a full presentation. So we met with our first group in July. We piloted the program in July. We then piloted the second round in August. And what we found were that families were just ready. They were ready to come and sit with us, ask their questions. And so we brought them in. We met here at Danbury High School, and we gave them a crash course into everything Danbury Public Schools. We wanted them to walk away with less questions, less doubts, and feeling confident in supporting their students. And so we went ahead and put together 17 modules. I have them listed in front of me, so I'm just going to look down for a second. Welcome to DPS is them meeting you, meeting the cabinet, extended cabinet, and board members, connecting with their school and a bit more about school safety. So they had a full listing of all the schools, as well as had an idea of just what school safety was and what that looked like for them. Connecting with their family liaison, which is where they just were able to find their person at their school to connect with. School attendance, health policies, technology, which was such a big module. We sat with families. We taught them how to use, and are still teaching them, how to use everything from Google Classroom, Power School, Parent Square, Naviance, Schoology. For some parents, we created email addresses with them. We showed them how to charge laptops. You know, we really took our time around this module because we heard our families. When we surveyed families in March and April, when we were first putting this program together, that piece, the technology piece, is one of the biggest areas that families just needed that support with. So we took our time with this module, and so we rolled out technology on day 2 in the morning, and then extended learning program was next, transportation, meals, social emotional learning. So we explain what it is for some of our parents to define it, and then explain what that looks like in their child's classroom. Special education, community resources, parent and community leadership opportunities, life beyond high school, where we talk about the Career Academy, career opportunities for them here at DPS, and then we wrap up with supporting your student at home, which is our transitional module to Module 2 that's being built out now, which will be full curriculum guides for every grade, K through 12, in every subject in Spanish, English, and Portuguese. Right now, the whole program is offered in all 3 languages in person, and I'm hoping in October we can also offer a Zoom option for our families that's a bit more convenient for. So one thing that we learned first, like I said, families are ready. They want to come back in the schools. They want to engage. And when we give them that opportunity, they come with their children, they come with their questions, and like I said, they're ready to get in there with us. We have seen a total of 675 families from July until now. Yes, that was my reaction immediately when I look at that. And that is also including our returning families, because what happened was we came and at admin council, I had the opportunity to share a little bit about the program, and principals jumped on it. I got emails, calls, same day, told me I want this in my school during my open house. So we were able to condense the program a bit for returning families, take out that information that they already knew, update some information, and go into the schools. And so we've been to Rogers Park, South Street. We're scheduled for Ellsworth, for AIS, for almost every school now, which is amazing. So we've seen that many families over just a few months. And 97% of our families that we surveyed all of our families, but 97% of them said they walked away feeling more confident and competent to support their student, which was just absolutely mind-blowing. And that is across all 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We also offered same-day downloads for all of these technologies. So the trainers, liaisons who attended, parent leaders, volunteers who are also behind me, that came in ready to walk parents through the downloading process, troubleshoot when they could, or go ahead and give it to myself or the data team to escalate on, which was really a groundbreaker for families. They walked away with kind of that piece already taken care of for them, so they felt more confident starting that school year. We also had many same-day signups for Parent C, Parent Supporting Educational Excellence, and our PEP program, People Empowering People, which I think is coming up in the next few slides. So that's what I have to report.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good. And we'll share the curriculum with you. We'll share the outline with you. Some of the other work that we've been doing is People Empowering People, and I have the graduates of People Empowering People that are here. Stand up. So this was a great class. Many of our liaisons took the course, and out of this course, they're all responsible to do something in the community. So many of them volunteered to become trained to teach the New Promise program, along with all of our liaisons who have had that training as well. We have a program, Alone No More. We're working with the Danbury Senior Citizen Center to use that, to work with that program and join together with that program to make sure our seniors are all safe. Fill My Cup is a support group for stay-at-home moms that they're all working on, and a community garden. So thank you to our Parent C and our PEP graduates. The work is just absolutely amazing. Right along really quickly, of course, we had our parent supporting educational excellency. Both of these programs will run again. Our Parent C is in January, and PEP begins in English, Spanish, and Portuguese.
English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We are very proud to be able to offer all of our leadership courses in 3 languages this year.
UConn gave us the rights to get it translated into Portuguese, so we're going to fund this. And here's the check. And got it. So things that we've done for families, of course, we had that May Early Childhood Resource Fair at the Dome that many of you came to, well attended by our families. We graduated 32 students from our school readiness program, and now we are splitting students between the new Osborne Annex building and the space that we have at Cottage Street, because we received more slots. We've moved from 56 to 85 slots for Danbury Public School. Our next one, we've done a lot of different professional development with our families and with our staff before school started, so that was a very interesting and moving part of our professional development. Next slide. And that's it. So I know I flew through this, but it's been quite, as Grace said, the whirlwind. But it's been wonderful. You know, when our families, last Thursday night we did open house for our school readiness families, I had parents in tears at how beautiful the building was. They were all just in awe over the building. Lori is our family educator that actually helps all those families integrate in. Ingrid Murphy is our director. But I have to, this is the group that's really making it happen. Whether they're family liaisons or folks that have taken the different trainings, you're there to help our families all the time. Thank you. It's making a big Thank you for the board. I remember when we were sitting
questions. Well, first, thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation. I go to Staples and they ask for contribution to a school box. Do we participate in that?
We were one of the ones that were chosen last year, and this year we were able to work with many other community organizations to have those school supplies from partners in Danbury and partners outside of Danbury to ensure that students had gotten school supplies this year and are still coming in, but they had chosen a couple other of the other surrounding districts for this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Lee, Grace Molina, thank you so much, family liaisons. You guys look awfully shy tonight, but every meeting I've been in with you, you were not shy, but it's really good to see you. So next up is our school website update. And Dr. Seeley, although he had a lot of other updates to provide, they'll be focused on one of our bigger ones, and initiatives, and that's our school website update. Dr. Seeley.
Go back one slide. One right there. Yeah. So I'm just going to dive right in because I know we still have a few more things to get to on the agenda. So this process began back in January, I believe it was, when we entered contract with Lumi, and right around February is when this real phase one began, and that involved everything from trying to understand what the website was, what we had in the old one, what needed to come over, what needed to just be left behind. Then we moved into phase two, which was actually figuring out what it was going to look like. And we all know what the old one looks like. We'll show you in just a second. But we wanted it to have a really clean aesthetic, and we wanted to get some branding guidelines, colors. And then phase three happened. We really had the site development, and that was what was really taking the bulk of the time. We wanted to make sure that the wireframes were correct, the pages came out the way we wanted them to, that information was put in properly. We didn't have broken pages. We didn't have text running off the sides, or the fonts were different, and all that kind of stuff. And now we are finally entering stage 4. So if you go one more slide forward, I just wanted to show the two different timelines here, because the one on the right, which is kind of hard to read, that was the timeline that Lumi had showed us back in February. And while the dates are shifted a little bit, you can see that the September 30th to 20th approval, we are actually in that window for a project of this scale, in a time of worker and labor shortages and all kinds of other challenges. It really is, I'm just so impressed that the team at Lumi, but also our folks here, have been able to get this thing ready to go in right on schedule. So I just want to give a shout out to Anne, her team, Grace, our communications director, Vivian Santos, I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, Gina, our IT director, really just pushed hard on getting these deadlines met, and they were like every 2 weeks. It was like, here's 5 more pages, proof these pages, turn it around, get it back. Here's 5 more, turn it around, get it back. So it was really yeoman's work that got us here. So let's go to the old homepage first. So everybody knows this one. I compared it, I think, once to the Las Vegas Strip. It's hard to figure out where to look. It's a bit cluttered. It's hard to figure out where things go. It did, yeah. But without further ado, let's click onto the new homepage. And here we are. And if you could shrink it down, maybe give it a control negative, just to get it all on the screen. And scroll down a little bit right there. So this will be our new aesthetic. And we are in that final phase of approvals now. We have another week where we're going to go through, comb the information, make sure things are accurate, make sure we have the right locations on the board meetings, and all these little fine points that we're going to be going through. We already did a training for central office departments, so each department can go in and look at their specific pages and make sure things look right. You can see this one has, so this is a scroll page. We have the ability to change the setting. Right now there's only the 2 top stories on there for hiring and athletics updates, but we have the ability to make it an automatic scroll, so it'll pass through those pictures. Vivian's going to be out and about in the schools taking fresh updated pictures that we'll be uploading to the site. We actually have a photographer coming in a few times over the course of the year to take some professional photos of some of those We have a whole bunch of quick links here that families can click on if they're just looking for something really quickly. If you go down a little bit, we've already got the strategic plan loaded in here in anticipation of a forthcoming workshop that we're going to be having. And then we have a bunch of calendar dates that will be popping up and automatic news stories that will populate on this home page. So if you go up to the top again, so if you see these navigations in the white bar at the top, you can roll over them. You can also click on them and go to a page that has that menu. But I want to go to the district one. Roll over district, and you click on Board of Education. And if you just scroll down, so everybody's name will be there with the email address. And I didn't have a picture of the current board, so I was hoping we could all hang out for a minute afterwards to take a picture and load it up there so it's up there when we launch the next week or so. I hope everybody's okay with that. And then down the district side, you can see that those are all just all the quick links that we have from news, security, documents about, in the case of data breach and data privacy and all those kind of legal documents. We have everything that's right there for you, and we're really excited to have this launch and be the new virtual face of Danbury. And I think it's appropriate that we have. We're talking about the website right after Anne's presentation of FACE, because we think about just the first thing people see when they encounter Danbury Public Schools, and in the physical space, right? It's Ellsworth Annex, and if you're ever over at Cottage, it was really cramped. There were no place for parents to sit. Sometimes they'd be out, especially during like peak registration times, they'd be kind of sitting on the curb, out on that driveway. It was just really, it was a very challenging space to have a lot of people flow through. The new annex. I mean, just everything from, the way it's designed, and then also the way just the chairs have been set up, the way the desks are organized. There's actually the opportunity to have a private conversation if a parent wants to have a confidential conversation about their child and talk about some of their challenges when we're going through the registration process. So all of that is just much more streamlined. Then they can go back, and then they can have their ELL testing or any of the other evaluations that need to be done. It's all private space. It doesn't feel like they're trying to hide behind little cubicle dividers, and it's such a great first thing for people to encounter when they come in to register their child for school. And then, of course, this is the virtual thing they see. The first thing they're going to do when they learn they're going to be going to Danbury schools is go to the website. And it's going to be loaded with our pictures, our kids. It's going to be a nice, clean aesthetic. And be, more importantly, easy to navigate, so they'll be able to find what they need, get their forms, go to registration, and find their school. And
My question,
yeah.
sir, show me on that segment where policies are.
I will update that.
More important than the speed will be policies.
Don't worry. Guthrie said that too. Don't worry.
I didn't get to say something to Ann before because we went way over the mic, but when I started on the board, we won't say when, to what you, I love referring to when I was on the board. But what you've done from when we first started with this open center and stuff like that is just tremendous. And I've seen it, not as much attention as I like to, but I've seen it grow. And just thank you to everybody who does it. Because
The whole team. It's
I remember I don't know how many years ago taking that tour of the place, and
Yes.
what it's become now
It's
is
amazing.
just pretty impressive. So thank you guys. And also, Mike, I'm in the website. You're right. I did like to look like the Vegas Strip. You don't know where to go, but it always winds up. But it looks nice and clean. So yeah, thank you.
Dr. Seeley, we have a question about the gym floor. Yes. The high school student really nailed the timeline for us, but if you can provide an update as you understand it for the board.
Sure. So there was a little bit of flexibility on the delivery date. It was really dependent on things, how much dampness was underneath that floor when they got under there. Best case scenario is that it would have been done by the end of September. They got under that floor and they found out that it had a lot of moisture. So take that in combination with a humid outdoor temperature. They had to go and bring in this massive, like truck trailer size dehumidifier, and then they literally pumped it, these giant hoses pumped it into the gym, so it would dehumidify and help dry the floor. That lasted for about a week and a half. Everything went to plan, and they actually have started laying the new maple floor. We improved the designs. There's going to be a Chatters logo in the center. Floor, there's a few different parts that come with laying the floor. They have to put the shellac on it and then do the painting and everything. But we're still expecting an October 15th delivery, which will be in time for basketball.
Thank you. The question was the deductible for it. John, can you provide some clarity for us? John will.
Last week, I met with the Assistant Finance Director at City Hall to discuss that. He asked that we make a special request. In other words, not to make that part of our regular cash flow that we get from the city. He wanted it treated individually. We talked about how to do that, and Monday of this week, I sent it over to him to process. So we're expecting the reimbursement check of $250,000. That's the amount of the deductibles.
So the city's gonna.
They are, yes.
Dr. Casimiro? So one college degree readiness for all students, graduate bar grant in Schoology.
There's a lot of stuff on there, so I will try to be concise at this hour. So all of the items that are under Goal Number 1 are tied together, so they're intermingled together. And I'll first start by positioning that all of the work really has been made possible in the last couple of years through the funding from the BART grant. We did in fact receive another award this summer, the one that we applied for. We did receive that in July, and that was a little over $500-something thousand. We had a little bit of carryover from the last year, and so that is part of the money that is used to fund some of the planning on the transformation work for the high school, which includes portrait of the graduate work, which includes having a learning management system to integrate portrait of the graduate and track qualities and characteristics and how students are doing over the years. So it's all part of sort of the larger plan. So we've been very fortunate with that. I'll go just sort of briefly through just sort of a few notes to sort of explain where we are with some of those items, and certainly there'll be more opportunities across the year to go more deeply into some of these things. So as you remember, and for those who are new and maybe folks who are in the audience, we did already develop a POG continuum for grades 6-12, and I will just show you a little bit of what that looks like under the green link there. Do you want to click on that for a second? Some folks saw this a little bit more in detail when it was presented in a curriculum meeting. We now have an internal site that we're working from that has the portrait of the graduate attributes, that has all of the middle school and high school outcomes identified, definitions, and the various categories. So for example, Ken, if you want to click on Outcomes Middle School for Advocates, that link will now take us to a more visually friendly rubric that describes the different levels of achievement, from exploring, progressing, achieving, and consciously pursuing. And then the language within is what we're using to kind of guide conversations and to start to think about how do we encourage these practices and skills in the classroom, and how do we build activities to support students deepening their knowledge and their ability to be proficient in some of these areas. And so, Ken, if you can go back up to the top. Part of the work group, we'll skip over high school outcomes and achievement indicators. You just want to click on experiments in action for a second. The far top, upper right. Thank you. Just pause it for a second. And so
when we got to the end of the year, as we were working through this rubric, we had a group of teachers that we enticed to come play with us on how to actually implement some of these things and just begin conversations. And so we had a small group of folks who were willing to kind of take some risks and to have some very honest conversations about what they thought about the rubric and how they think they would implement it in class and what that could look like in the current courses that we have. And so I'm not going to go into all the different experiments, is what we call them. But Ken, if you want to just click on, and I won't go into all their personal reflections because I don't want to put them out there as they were very vulnerable in the group to explore. But if you want, yes, number 5, if you want to scroll down, you click on, see it says number 2 right there, lower left, just click on number 5 for an example. And these are detailed, these are layered, there's lots of information to their planning documents, you don't have to click on that. But if you go down to where it says we observed, and these are some of the reflections that we got back. Students enjoyed working together and were more apt to share when they knew they were being assessed on collaboration and not just a finished product. So we heard a lot over and over again that it changed the dynamic of the conversations in the room and the way that students worked with each other and or, the way that they had worked previously independently. So they saw it as a different goal. What we learned, the visuals made it a lot easier to understand the attributes, and students began to point out in other lessons that followed and made those connections with learner and collaborator. And Ken, if you just go to number, I think it's 15, 13, just one more example. I can go on and on with these, but these were, and just scroll up a little bit higher. Other way. Just want to get down to the observed. Students worked differently when you apply a new rubric, even if the lesson didn't change very much. So the added layer of the rubric and the conversations and the way that, again, students interacted changed, even though the lesson content was relatively the same. So it was that conversation that was broken that was powerful. And applying the POG rubrics to existing practices will result in a change in student performance. So you can go back up to the page, but over and over again, we have these very unique reflections of these little points of light that we are starting to see in the way that students were interacting with their teachers. The teachers all commented that we need way more time with this, we need to dive deep into this, we need to expand our understanding of this. We needed to front load more understanding of this with the students. If they start in 9th grade, maybe they'll understand kind of where we're going. So we really are at just the beginning of the work that's involved. And so the portrait of the graduate and with the BAR Foundation support, as part of that, our collaborative work with them and debriefing on them about the processes that we've been in, part of the reason we won the grant is because we, with our learnings and our research, pitched the idea of working with 8 teachers going to the next level, more deeply, more intensely over the course of the entire year this year, as opposed to just experimenting towards the end when we're finished with rubrics. And to dive into standards-based learning and to dig into a series of professional development opportunities. So I'm going to have you just skip to the next slide for a second. I can just, if you click on standards-based PD, we have the link up at the top. Thanks. So we have a scope of work that we've designed with Future Design School, who we've introduced to you in the past, to dig into the standards-based work and how to incorporate the portrait of graduate attributes into the current classes and courses that we have now. That's okay, Ken. You can go back and we'll have it. And if you go back one more slide, thanks. And so they're going to partner with us to support these 8 teachers and engage in some professional learnings across the year. And again, that small pod will start to grow as we build capacity and start to scale some of this. We do intend on developing a K-5 continuum. That's also part of the work. We just created a scope of work plan with FDS that included no less than 40 meetings for that work, and that's just our meetings with them, and then we'll have meetings on the side with our district leaders, and we'll bring on some elementary principals to be part of that work as well. So that will hopefully start probably in late October. We're waiting for the year to get off the ground. We've got a lot of initiatives happening right now, so we're going to pause a little bit before we stress our folks out too much more. So we'll be reporting on the development of that work across the year. We'll probably have something by spring to share with everybody. And then a lot of this has also to do with the Schoology integration. I'll talk more in detail about that implementation and the scope of that work. I know it's been a hot topic lately about how that's going, which is fine. And so that has been a massive undertaking, and so we'll talk about that. But basically, the idea is to use Schoology, because it is a learning management system, to track student progress over time. And it's a very tricky thing to do when you're creating a non-graded system of giving feedback to students. So that happens in the form of reflection, feedback, and portfolio type work, which we're learning how to customize in Schoology to be able to create a continuum over time of where our students are developing along this continuum. It's not a work that a lot of folks are digging into because it's very complicated, and that's one of the reasons why BAR loves us, because we're willing to take that on, and that's the kind of work that they fund, and that's the kind of work that they see have create greater outcomes for kids when they're getting that type of feedback and when they're working in these manners with these characteristics in a well-developed portrait of the graduate, which I think that we have. So we talked a little bit about the standards-based PD. We're also, as part of our BAR work, have committed to something called a Spring Point visit. The Spring Point visit is really about us pushing ourselves on something called the indicators of school quality. And indicators of school quality are really about doing a self-assessment and pushing ourselves around our mission, our positive school climate and culture. But for this grant in particular, the emphasis is on rigorous and purposeful learning experiences and academic systems, our instructional model, our curriculum standards, systems to support strong instruction, and our graduation pathways, how we empower post-secondary choices, our college and career learning sequences, our enrichment experiences, and our counseling, and how all that is supported in counseling. So we will have a visit with this group that will come in, and they will help us do a self-analysis on where we are. And then there's coaching sessions along the way, and there are something called communities of practice that will engage with other school districts across the country who are awarded the BAR grant and are also pursuing work in this manner. So it's very exciting stuff. It's a lot of work, but we have a great team that's very committed, and we're looking forward to identifying the teachers who want to participate with us this year in that. As part of the BAR grant, obviously we are continuing to work on the academy development. I won't click on that link tonight because that's really just the graphic that we've been circulating, so I don't need to go into that too much tonight. But ongoing work with that and the development of that are about some site visits, participating in site visits with some of these community practices, and in consultation with the National Career College Coalition. There are things called Insight On-Site. Those are on-site visits and that are highly facilitated to help tease out some of the problems of practice that we'll encounter as we open up an academy. And then we have something called a Career Academy Leadership Collaborative, and that's where we're going to be sending out our assistant principals to some of these sites in small learning teams, and in between they'll have facilitated professional development between visits. So it's not just go out to the visit and come back and do nothing with it. There's a lot of homework in between and leadership work that happens. And then we have a pathway leader and elective development plan, with which will identify pathway leaders at Danbury High School to start to develop elective curriculum and to become liaisons, also to work with Fred and to work with our curriculum folks. I'm marrying those two things. And we're also looking, as part of this work, we've done some research on how to expand college credit offerings. Just a little bit of some highlight in that we started researching Cambridge International, which is, if you've ever heard of AP schools, IB schools, and there's Cambridge schools. Well, Cambridge is not super popular in Connecticut. It's mostly because our colleges and universities don't offer college credit yet in that area, and our state has not recognized those courses for the accountability index. However, we believe we're working with Alan Bernstein, who's the former regional president of the College Board, who now works for Cambridge, to partner with the state and our area universities to talk about getting Cambridge to be considered in the model similar to IB and AP. Cambridge is looking for their first school in Connecticut, and I'm looking for elective and high-quality curriculum to help fill some of these unique areas that we have at the high school. And Cambridge has very unique electives that AP and IB and some of these other places do not have. So I'm very interested in partnering with them, and it's free for the first 5 years because they are trying to gain partners in Connecticut. So we're exploring that, and I'll update you and see how it goes. But more to come. I already mentioned about the monthly coaching sessions with Laura and our communities of practice works. Okay, the one you're all waiting for. It's changing everyone's lives right now, including mine. So that is Schoology. So as you know, if you have a child in the school system, your child has changed over from Google Classroom to Schoology. And the big question is, why the heck would we do that? Things were going just slow. And so I just want to be clear that when we talk about the different systems and what we need, we knew heading into coming post-pandemic, we're still pretty much in one, but post big distance learning pandemic, that we weren't going back to paper and pen, and we were moving in this direction to be able to support our students with 21st century skills, and to be, especially with the academy coming, that we were going to need a robust learning management system. Google Classroom is not a true learning management system. It's a Google tool. So they are all of those classrooms that are out there that we've created are little islands by themselves that operate as little independent fiefdoms with the teacher and the student. Anyone can get invited to those classes by having access to the course code. It's actually not super secure, actually, when you think about it. So that's one issue. The second issue is that Schoology works with PowerSchool and integrates. It integrates with our gradebook, it integrates with Naviance, it integrates with all of the systems that we have. It's designed for that integration and pass back and pass through. Over time, our ability to collect data to see where students are over a period of time in those classes becomes greatly enhanced. You can't do that with Google Classroom. So we have a litany of reasons, most of them on the back-end technology side, along with reporting and monitoring, as to why we moved to a learning management system. There are a few big ones out there, Schoology, Canva, Blackboard, and those are kind of widely used ones. Schoology, I don't know how many, 20 million users in the United States. It's a pretty reputable program. But it's a huge implementation shift in Danbury, and it's one that's going to take some time. And similar to when we shifted to Google Classroom in the middle of the night, and all the angst around that, and how do we do this, and then don't know how to connect, and how do I get to my meet, this too shall be a process over time that we're going to have to work through. And we have started to collect surveys and information from the teachers. What are the apps that you are used to using that are not working correctly right now? Please let us know. And we're slowly picking away at that information. We've had things, for example, because it is more secure. Let me back up a little bit. A teacher could download and add any Google app that they wanted to into their classroom. I want to use this app. I want to bring this in. It was very seamless. I didn't need to ask anybody permission to do any of that. I just added it in there, and the Google tools are wonderful. So we're all used to using those. With Schoology, there has to be an association. So we have to say, I want you to talk to Paradeck. I want you to talk to Edmodo. I want you to talk to Desmos. And so as we've loaded several of those applications in, all the ones that we know teachers like, some of those apps rely on other third-party apps to deliver their content. And so some of those weren't working in some cases. And so it's a matter of because we have security blockers in our system that don't recognize the website from another third-party app because we didn't form that relationship. So we, one by one, as those come in and we start to work through those email addresses and those third-party apps get added to the list, and voila, things open up. So we've only been at this for a couple of weeks, and it's such an implementation that once you flip the switch on and kids have their courses, you gotta roll, and you gotta roll fast and hard, and you gotta work through it. So for the most part, teachers I think are missing sort of the ease of the fluency that they had with Google Classroom. My folders were here, and now they're here. Or for students, I submitted assignment. Where did it go? I can't see it. I'm trying to sync my grades. It didn't show up. Well, there's a setting in the background in your grade book that you haven't quite set yet. Let me show you how to do that. So that's going to take some time. And I know the last part about that, the time piece, is the parent side of things. And so when I mentioned about the course codes that anyone can join, Schoology is a little bit different in the sense that in our back end, in our student information system, it has to make an association with a parent email address in order to have access to that course. And so we're still working on building those associations. Just because you have an email in the system and there's Schoology doesn't mean that they talk yet. And so our director of technology is going to be working on that. She thinks it'll take about another week or so to get that up and running. And then we'll push out the hey, parents, this is how you can make sure that you see your students' course from your vantage point. Certainly they can look on to their students' courses right now with them, but having the parent side of things is really what folks want. And in order to push that out, to make it make sense, we can't push that out until that association is made, because we have lots of frustrated parents trying to log in. So the tool itself is very sophisticated. It's a highly reputable program. What we're doing with it now are very basic functions, assignments, posting content, organizing folders, but the level of depth and sophistication that's within Schoology is tremendous, which is why we went to it. And we'll get there, but we have a limited amount of staff. We do not have technology coaches. Norwalk has 7. We don't have any. So we have Gina Jasmine, you have myself, we've got a couple of teachers that we have on timesheets after school that are helping us out, have been amazing. Rachel Saunders and Amanda Peterson, huge shout out, because they're helping to run after school. I get shaking the head, yeah, they're amazing. So we're working through it, but it's a learning curve for sure. It's a learning curve for all of us, because we have a lot of capacity in the district. So, but we will get there, and we're going to collect more information. We have information that we're collecting now, and then we have information that we'll collect again in 8 weeks to see did the number of technical issues come down as people started to gain a little bit more proficiency. In the meantime, we have several Schoology sessions that we're going to be running, and support sessions for folks who need them. But even internally with our leadership staff, it's a learning curve. The teachers can't exactly help the kids out as much as they want to, because they're still putting their folders together, they're still figuring their stuff out. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Yes.
Just a quick question about that. Does Schoology as an entity offer any kind of training or PD for educators? Or?
Oh yes. So that for me. Then go through the rest of this. So this started way back last year. Thank you for asking that. So we started. We probably had 30 or 40, maybe 50 integration meetings. So very tech-heavy meetings about settings, permissions, passwords, all that stuff. Early on last year, and then once we got to a certain point, we were able to open up the courses. We developed a Schoology super user group. So we invited folks who were generally technologically proficient to come in and to get advanced training. So let's get this started, and then try to work through what questions they had. So that helped us kind of prepare how do we roll this out to our staff. So they were kind of our front runners, explorers in this. They were a great group to work with. We didn't have a full school-wide training until May 17th during department day. So we had a full PD day for that. Actually half day PD on that. And then we offered different options for flexibility. So you can either do your training asynchronously, or you can do it with a live person. And then we offered some support sessions afterwards. We had about 100 high school teachers participated in the live sessions. And then a lot of folks preferred the asynchronous. They said, well, just give me the link and I'll figure it out. But everybody agreed that you really don't know Schoology. You really can't know it until you start using it. So you can have a couple of hours of training for the basics, but it's really about building fluency, moving around in the environment. It's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and they've done a reset in the store, and all of a sudden it takes you forever to find all your items are there. They're in different places, and it takes you time to figure them out. We did Schoology getting started live sessions. We did rolling sessions from 2:30 to 4:30 on several dates through the end of the school year. And then more asynchronous training that we offered that in June 2nd for another group. And then if you want to click on the Getting Started Live session. We did run another session August 26th. We had 10 Schoology professionals leading those sessions, and we had tons of teachers, all the new teachers especially had to be trained. And so now these are additional sessions that we've designed internally for after school. So on a voluntary basis, folks can drop in and learn more about organization or collaborating, or how to get their apps to start working, how to create buttons that kind of put things together for them in succinct ways, to get kind of shortcuts, how to build your assignments, grade books, and so on. So it is going to take time. It is a process, and we're all going through it right now for sure. Questions?
Will you sharing the flow chart for future changes to the setup?
Changes to Schoology?
No, the approval process for new courses, taking away courses, programs, to change Schoology setup.
So the courses, so most of the courses are, our teachers access most of their course materials in Google folders that they've been working on. So curriculum, resources, text sets, collections, pacing guides are in Google folders. Google Tools works with Schoology. So they're still accessing the same content that they have been accessing prior, but it's now built into a course.
But if they're changing something, adding a course, taking away something, is there a process that you're going to set up to have, or they just can go in and change whatever they want?
No, we have curriculum that the teachers use that has been established, and over time when there are edits or changes or improvements that we make, some of them are small, like we think this is a better selection for the standard, we'd like to include this activity. Some teachers this year will be adding in ways to increase collaboration and communication, and they'll build certain components in, and we'll have those conversations in department meetings. And so it's really about the standards, so the standards don't change. And that those are things. So those are kind of the non-negotiables that we have across the school system. So we have standards in almost every content area now, minus some electives that are a little, unique.
Let's say they wanted to do a course and to get it on the Schoology site.
Yeah, the teachers don't bring on a new course unless
It's the courses that they teach.
Right.
And then the students are registered in that course. And so then if I'm a student, I'm going to have all my classes kind of cataloged all in one space. So I can go to Dr. Castellano for English, Kelly Chuchis for social studies, Rachel Shaleski for math. Like I don't have to go to all these different sites. I have one platform with all this information.
I'm the other end. I'm on the administrative end. How do you get courses to change on the Schoology site? See, I decide I'm the teacher and I want to change, or I want to add a new course.
No, it doesn't happen that way. Teachers have an assigned.
No, that's what I mean. I wanted a flow chart. How does it go?
No, I understand exactly what you're saying now. So if I'm the principal of the building and Kara's teaching, she has 5 classes to teach. Those are her classes. She doesn't have the ability to change her class or her course. So that, and then if your school year comes, certainly there may be an opportunity. Kara might express interest in teaching a new elective, and there'll be a process, and then for students in high school, the students are electing there's a demand for a new course that's already offered, there's an improved course that's already offered, and that might be one of the courses that Kara teaches. But Schoology is only uploading courses for the 5 classes that she teaches, and then the roster of students come from her class list.
No, I'm talking about a brand new course, never been taught before. How does it get on Schoology?
It doesn't.
So 9th grade English is 9th grade English. 10th grade English is 10th grade English. All the teachers are teaching the same course.
Well, you're talking about at the last meeting of the academy, some of these teachers coming forward with
Oh,
their
yes, okay, so for
specialization.
electives.
How-
Okay, now I understand what you're
that's-
saying. Yes. So we have something called the curriculum boot camp. So when we have a brand new course, okay, we will have content developed around the standards related to that course, but in a consistent manner. And we're going to be working with some of our industry professionals to help with the content pieces. So for example, if we don't have a lot of folks internally who understand about cybersecurity, for example, so we would partner with someone in the industry on cybersecurity to talk about the big ticket items in that. And then we would use some of our practical standards that we have, some of our ISTE standards, which are science and technology standards. There could be some ELA standards in there for writing, and we would blend those in with the course content to develop an elective that meets 2 purposes. 1, to prepare kids for college and career, and 2, that develops all the other academic skills that they would use.
Who's the final authority that approves that?
I will look at those. Yes. You're welcome. Sure. The portrait of the graduate. So the rubric that we had up before, we talk about innovation and we talk about collaboration and we talk about that students make other students feel welcome. Let's say, for example, that for those types of areas on the portrait of the graduate, we're going to give you feedback on that. Let me talk you through kind of how I think we did with this. Let's talk about how you worked in that group together. A lot of this stuff also plays into the way the soft skills that we want to see students have. And so we're not going to say, Michelle, you're a D in collaboration. You're a bad collaborator. It's really, what you're exploring in this area. And we want to focus in on how we're going to get you to progressing. And these are the things you need to do to get there. Let's have that conversation.
But we're still prioritizing grading.
We still have traditional grades. Traditional grades as in A, B, C, D. We have numerical grades. Our colleges recognize A, B, C, D and numerical grades as well. However, standards-based grading, it also gets introduced with along these lines. So one of the things that we'd like to see more of is that you could get an A, Michelle, in a class because you're raising your hand, you're answering all the questions, you turn in all your homework, and you go for every extra credit that teacher throws out there. But when I give you an assessment, maybe you score a different number. And so the A and all those extra credit things that you do could actually be masking where your true skill lies in a course with your ability to either critically think or to perform on whether it's a math assessment, whatever. So standards-based grading develops achievement indicators where you look at grade levels, you look at levels of achievement across, and you are assessing only on those areas, and you're giving students feedback only on these those areas. It doesn't negate traditional grading, but it's in addition to help provide more real, pure information about where students fall in their learning. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So then with that, in conjunction with the grade, then basically the outcome.
That's what we're working how to learn how to do, because there's not a lot of folks that have done it. It's complicated.
Right.
So, and it's in some cases it's extra work. So for this experiment that we're running with the Bar Foundation, teachers are going to keep 2 grade books, and so we have to get volunteers who are going to want to do that to talk about the benefits of maintaining grades and giving feedback in that area, so that kids are getting a different level of feedback in addition to traditional grades.
So prior, you had some sort of a program that was up, and you said was available. Is that internally only to administration? Were they able to that?
So I we presented the portrait of the graduate continuum a few times, and we've made that available, and that is available. That is an internal website that we created to house some of the feedback and to keep that inside with the teachers who volunteer to work with us. So their personal reflections are in there, which is why it's not external.
Right.
And if we posted that publicly, they would not get volunteers to work with us. While they're learning to, be vulnerable and take academic risks and professional risks.
So, board chair, that concludes our superintendent update. So, just want to start off by reminding the board where we ended last school year. And last board meeting of the school year, we talked about really kind of the state of our budget moving forward for the 23-24 school year and beyond. And at that time, we, as part of our presentation that evening, we talked about the shortfall of our budget for next school year, for this school year, and we addressed that gap by accelerating our ESSA funding plan. So we had $11 million plus $1 million to help fill that gap that we had talked about. But this also means next school year, 23-24, it means our cliff will be upon us 1 year soon. With that, could mean a series of cuts and for next school year and beyond. And we've talked about a couple of different scenarios on how we would kind of manage and recommend potential cuts. And so we had some initial thoughts and for discussion, and John, you can just kind of walk us through some of the discussions.
What we're looking to do is we need call it a wider lens earlier in the process. Traditionally, as we've put together school budgets, we might, a conversation, for example, with a middle school principal might just be about that middle school and what they plan to do the following year. And it's primarily has been in all places a central office-driven process in which we then bring you the superintendent's proposed budget the end of December, early January to look at. But with the conditions as Kevin described, we want to take advantage of really of all the good minds we have and all the good experience we have here in the district and get their advice early, not just on their own areas of responsibility, but as the entire district and getting what we think will be the very best recommendations together when we present the budget in December. So that's the objective. Be an advisory committee to the superintendent.
And so the thought would be that we would have an advisory committee made up of district office personnel, some community members, board member, perhaps someone from our teacher ranks, elementary, secondary, certainly some representation from NEA and DSAA, and perhaps some other labor groups at the table so that everyone kind of, number one, we share with them the priorities for the district relative to our North Star, which is the POG and our vision and mission. And then we also kind of identify some additional guardrails and kind of guidelines for these recommendations and provide an opportunity for them to talk amongst themselves and provide a recommendation for the superintendent. And that would be one of many recommendations and considerations for my recommendation to the board for an adopted budget for 23-24 school year. So just wanted to make sure I use this our first meeting of the year to kind of share some of our initial discussions. Did not know if there was any maybe feedback for this thought. Just wanted to get this out here, open up the school year because budget season will be upon us really soon. And some of our initial thoughts were we were going to put an advisory committee together. They would need to start meeting soon so they can inform the budget process, which we would like to start in the next couple of months.
You want the feedback from that and not yours?
Nominate
I
Al.
apologize. I forgot the question.
Nominate Al.
So my only feedback to that would be that clear expectations are set from the beginning to the advisory committee. That is strictly an advisory to the superintendent, and the ultimate decisions lie with his position.
So if there's no other feedback, I just want to make sure that the team and I will start working on the outline of a plan and invited guests, and I'll have an update for the board on that meeting when we start.
Is it board members or board members?
later on there's feedback, feel free to send it along. Yeah. Okay, moving along to information. I threw the standing committee meeting schedule in there, just so you know that's communicated, out to the public as well. This was sent earlier to board members from Tara. It's nothing set in stone, but it's just a way to streamline the meetings. We've had a record number of meetings the past few years. More than ever, we've got a lot of things going on for us. We're a very busy board, especially with budget and our sites and facilities happening in those committees. So if there's anything that comes up in the way of, hey, I want to talk about, can you throw this on an agenda? I'm certainly open to discussion topics, and for the regular meetings as well. So that is that. There are the CAVE education law summaries. Oh, sure, go ahead.
I'd like to just make it clear, I would like curriculum committee once a month. I think we spend a lot of time here on curriculum and the development clearly, so I see that it's only, I think, 3 times for the year, school year. I would like it considered everyone, based on what we actually, all the information we just got, building of a new school, and all of the new programs. I just want to put that out there and have that be considered.
Thank you, Jim. And just to clarify, all of our committee meetings meet 4 times per year, except for our finance, which meets monthly, and I think our sites and facilities.
Scheduled for 4, but
Okay, it'll be more effort. So, but certainly there's an agenda topic that you'd like to see at a regular meeting. We did discuss curriculum just now. We touched upon it. I'm sure it'll come up regularly at our regular meetings. Sure. Yeah.
So I forgot to mention earlier, we had committed to quarterly updates, PO reports on the graduate updates. So this evening will be one of 4 updates for the school year. We would come back a few more times, and certainly if there's anything specific that needs to be covered in those community updates, we'll be happy to make sure it's
Sorry, I kind of rushed through that. So is there any other feedback for committee structure, committee?
Just confirm for us, Rachel, what the procedure is if, like a chair of a committee wants to bring another meeting forward, what would be the protocol, please? Like, one that's not scheduled.
Great question. I think, bring it forward to, can we say, you and I, or that liaison, the cabinet liaison. How would you like to handle that?
probably maybe a discussion with the committee, and then we'll just bring it back here and update the board. So oftentimes there's a meeting with the liaison and the committee kind of chair, and a request. It seems like it typically takes place in that moment in real time that another meeting is needed. And so this is oftentimes usually before we leave the meeting, the folks in that call or in that Zoom meeting all kind of put their calendars up there and say, hey, can we meet on such and such date? So I think we provided that information to the board. We will lock it
saying, if she wants to meet on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, she can call those meetings.
Yes, that's what I was just
Oh,
saying.
okay, all right, yeah, I can't.
Wednesday would just be a challenge, that's the only point I was.
It's all around Tuesdays.
What day is it good?
Still Wednesday right
Finance
now.
is not Tuesday.
Just for about an hour.
Yeah. You got 15 minutes. The lights go off. The lights go off. Where'd it go?
Next, we have, save the date, September 22nd. Yes, it is the same date as the Great Plains, no one, unfortunately. But that information is in there. For my report, I don't have much. In addition to all of our committees, we've got negotiations, we have PDEC, we have administrative interviews going on, expulsion hearings, the city building committee met today, the Career Academy Task Force met last week, PTO meetings are beginning, and then trainings, and we have a workshop next week, that, not next week, in 2 weeks, right before our next regular meeting. I did want to mention the DHS PTO meeting, Teresa, is next Wednesday evening. You are our DHS PTO liaison.
Is that Zoom?
That is in person.
In person at the high school?
At the high school. Yep. There's a CAVE Parliamentary Procedures webinar on Wednesday, September 28th at noon. I believe that's free. That's always a good refresher. And then the CAVE CAPS Convention, November 18th, 19th. Kara sent out information over the summer. Great. That's it from me. Any other board? Sure.
One, too much on one meeting, a lot of information. Even having said that, not one mention about safety and security. You heard everything about it. I don't want it now. I don't want it now. I want it to be a little sprinkle at the end of the meeting. I don't want it now. But we heard about kindergarten orientation, website, gym floor, not one thing about safety and security, what we've done to, safety and security. And I think we're all about data, and all kinds of stuff like that. I would suggest that we do a survey with the parents and staff, how they feel about their school, safe, secure, how they feel about going there. But I'd like to see something in the next meeting, if we could, about just, hey, we have the safety guys, we got some new cameras coming in, the doors finally locked at ABC school, stuff like that. But there's a lot chock full of information here, 14 different topics, not one safety and secure. I think safe, secure environment promotes quality education. And I think we focus on academics, which we should. I think that, I'm not saying we don't care about it, I'm not representing that. I think it's just kind of an afterthought, and that kind of is what I think. So that's my comment, and also I have to leave that. So.
Thank you. Anything else, Kate?
Just want to say a quick thank you to Mr. Salvestrini and Mr. Donovan for the athletic tickets.
Thank you for mentioning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be real quick. South Street School had their open house last night, and it's beautiful. A lot of parents, attended, and I had feedback from people that thought it was very wonderful. The thing that I was very impressed with today, called South Street, and that staff was standing out greeting those students as they come and get out of the car. And how the backup that they used to have is no longer, I didn't see it the 3 days that I was there. And they're standing there, get out the kid, unbuckle him, get out the van, get out the car. Out, already, go ahead and play. They have a group just waving you on, so you don't have that bag up. You used to be all the way out onto what's the street? South Street. And I just thought it was very interesting as to how the kids, they knew the teachers, eyes open when they saw them, and it was just a nice
Moving on to our executive session. Make a motion that the Board of Education convene an executive session to present a tentative agreement with the custodians, maintenance, and drivers, and tentative 1-year contract extensions for paras with possible action in public session. Seconded by Kate. All those in favor? Aye.